fun, it's a multiplier, right? It's a way for us to reach out to people that we don't normally get to meet. And it's a way for us to share ideas, right? And we want to really discuss about and think about and explore deeply into some of these issues, right? So although we are trying to contextualize it, but also please feel free to explore. And if you have any burning kind of questions, that's why we have our distinguished panel of speakers here today, provide a variety of perspectives of technologies, all come with their own various experiences, ranging from the financial field, right, to the design space, the empathy space, the education space, and the technical and the ethical space. So just to introduce our speakers, I don't introduce the So the first speaker on my left is Mr. Daryl Lim, right? We have Mr. Bernard Soo, right? And we have Mr. John Yeo, right? And Mr. Harish Pillay. So I'm a moderator for today. My name is Aldrin, but I'm not important. I'm just here to get the conversations going. So to share more of it about who our speakers are, so Daryl is a design thinker. He's responsible for the design and advocacy of design thinking transformation in Asia. He has 20 years of experience, right, in creating a wide range of people-related solutions in all kinds of instances, people management strategies, ranging from employee career journeys to the digitalization of learning, right? And he has also dealt with Metaverses, right? Academy in the Metaverse, as well as in Bistro philanthropy applications. So he has been working tirelessly in many countries, ranging from Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, Uganda, Myanmar, Azerbaijan, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Oman. So he's very well versed how this impacts many parts of the world. And I think recently he just won the national award for design thinking. So later maybe we can get Daryl to share more about this award, right? So Daryl will be giving some of these sessions. He's a newfound associate scholar. And the person on Daryl's left is Bernard. Bernard also very experienced, 18 years in banking, head of wealth proposition and online trading in SCDF, head of digital wealth proposition in UOB, and he was the product owner of Global Advisors. I think we have heard of Global Advisors, right? Famous and well-known everywhere. And not only Global Advisors, also Simple Invest, Simple Insure, and he was also the project lead for SG Fintech, right? Open banking project driven by MAS. Bernard was formerly an executive committee member in the Singapore Fintech Association, representing the Fintech community in Singapore. He also runs several startups, including Citadel, DeFi property tokenizing platform using blockchain. He also runs another Fintech for will writing and legacy planning, right, called I Will. Thank you for the I promise they will let John Yeo but I'll talk about John first. John Yeo. So John John used to work for the ASEAN Development Bank as the education and edtech consultant. So he was part of the international task force that developed and designed evaluation assessment frameworks, right, to support education reform, right, for ASEAN countries. So he worked with policymakers in the region and recommended and guided the various ministries to develop future-oriented curriculum. He was also part of Singapore's Ministry of Education's curriculum task force that developed and implemented the 21st century competency model. A lot of very interesting endeavors. And John was also the first Asian Creative Theory. This is an award by the US Creative Education Foundation, right, that supports emerging paradigm-shifting research, right, with high potential for impact by the field of creativity. And so we're very fortunate that John is us today. Thank you, John. And also we have a very distinguished person, Mr. Harish Pillay. So Harish, right, is an engineer and a hacker. Well, there are good hackers as well, right? Hacking, all kinds of hacking, right? Only good hackers, that's right. It is us. Right, so for Harish, he has a wide-ranging interest, from chip design, open source software, open data, AI, ethical and accountable use of technology. Harish is also a fellow of the Institution of Engineers Singapore and the Singapore Computer Society. He's also a senior member of the IEEE, ambassador of the software heritage. And in his time, he's also a hand radio operator 91 HP. That's something very unique. Oh, your call sign, right? Harish's call sign is 91 HP. Right? And he will also, during the Indian Ocean Tsunami, he was the deputy commander of Ops Lionheart, right? Which was SCDF's response, right, in this deployment to Banda Aceh. So thank you, right, Harish, right, for listening. So for today's event, what will happen is this. I'll invite the speakers to share a little bit about themselves and some of their thoughts in regards to the topic, so that everyone gets a good idea of who they are and some of their backgrounds. And as they are speaking, you may want to start thinking about the questions that you would like to ask them. We have 4 different perspectives here. Right? And later on, the second half, and the most important part of the event is when we ask questions to our panel of speakers, and we can have a good deep dive in some of the questions that you might have in the topic. Right? How technology impacts Singapore and the region. So to start off, could we have Daryl to share a bit about yourself?
Thank you, Aldrin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And hi. Good to see you here. So as Daryl representing Design Thinkers Academy, to me, in simplicity, design thinking is really about human centricity. It's about designing for human beings. For me, I stand for human centricity in a lot of things that I do. So since my career started some 20 over years ago, it was designing around what human beings need to be productive and to be able to create value for others around them. And so I think in this topic on technology and the importance of technology in Singapore, I think to me, it's a next phase of life for us, I think. And I feel that the question for me, and I always ask is, are we ready for it? Technology to me is always the final step of a solutioning process, where you create something that is self-sustaining and can repeat itself, so that you don't have to do it again, right? Because if you have the solution, like a remote control, I don't have to recreate a remote control to control the television set, because that's what I need. And so the solution was that remote control. But the question now lies in, do we really know what's the problem? And to me, that's always the question that I always ask. As the world goes round, as the world evolves, the question for me is the problem still the same? Right? Because the solution remains the same, but is the problem still the same? And sometimes I think, to me, when I meet my clients and when I meet even agencies and all, somehow or other the problems don't exist, right? Because when you really drill deep into the question, what are you solving? What are you beginning with, and who is the one you're serving? Oh, we're serving everybody. We're serving the whole, because it's been there, because it's proven that it's worked before, therefore let's keep producing it. I think that's something that is quite scary. Because as the world changes, then what happens to our lives with irrelevant products, irrelevant technology, irrelevant things like that. So I'm still asking that question. Maybe I'll pass it on now first to Bernard. Maybe he has a bit different views than I do.
Okay, I come from a different background. Thanks, Aldrin, for sharing my profile. So I can give the lens of a Singaporean employee, working in a bank 18 years ago, until now as a business owner with a startup embracing tech. So as a young banker 18 years ago, on the front line in a branch, trying to sell unit trust to the clients, then there was Fund Supermarket. We already experienced competition online versus bank. And how do you command that premium when customers saying that Fund Supermarket is like 1%, you're trying to charge me 5% those days. And then of course, many years later, as a relationship manager, there was robo-advisors. It's like, oh wow. Now, as RM, also very tough. It's like, wow, there's a robo. Then customers are comparing you against personal service versus customized robos out there. And you're going to charge them a fee. And robos obviously are cheaper. So as an employee, it's like, oh, okay, very stressful, need to differentiate my services. I'm fighting against a machine, and customers are not quite savvy. And of course, then I thought, okay, maybe I don't do sales. I joined the management. So I subsequently become a head of digital wealth. I build platforms for the bank. I'm in charge of online trading platform in Standard Chartered, online stocks. I build it, I run it as a business. I build robo-advisors in UOB. So okay, can't beat them, join them. So maybe don't be an RM. I build it, help the bank make money, support the RMs. So there's a choice. There's a choice there. Of course, my friends continue on as a banker, and now they are all successful in private banking. I began a management, different path. Later on, I quit banking 3 years ago. I joined FinTech. Built a lot of platforms out there. Will writing platform free. I was with the FinTech Association as a board member. I represent the FinTech community. Be part of the disruption. That's another choice as an employee. But I came out to do my own thing, try to lead the industry. And then most recently, then there's blockchain. Like wow, now I can do DeFi, decentralized finance, replace the banks. So I decided to take lead. As a business owner, technology is there, use it. I don't want to be led by technology. Not technology, I will use it to lead it. So there's a different pain points here and there. As an employee, as a business owner, technology has always been there. It's evolving. Then most recently, ChatGPT, right? So I'm using it now for my business. There's a lot of usage technologies there. In the banks, customers, investors also change. As a head, I'm always doing surveys, net promoter score, surveying the clients. So like what used to be complaining about RMs, like, oh, can't find them, poor service. It became the survey changed, the complaints changed. Oh, poor platform, poor UI UX. The customers also very spoiled with choices. So used to Netflix, Amazon. They wanted the bank to be like Amazon. Tell me what I need to see. One button, done deal. No more buttons. So customers are getting savvy. There's a higher expectation for technology. They're embracing it. It's a good thing. So to me, technology has always been there. It's created a lot of opportunities for business owners, and yet it can be a threat for the same business owner as well. Because right now, consumer using internet, they can check the pricing immediately and ask you the other side, Taobao saying selling this price, why you're so expensive, things like that. So it's how you harness this, how you use technology. It is given a lot of entrepreneurs a chance to fight with the big boys, technology, home bakers, YouTubers, new markets, new occupations came out. No doubt it has replaced some occupations. So it really depends on whether you embrace it or you get disrupted by it. I believe there's a lot of questions to come later on. Happy to take. So thanks for hearing me.
turn. Aaron, I'm going to ask you a question. How do you rate Singapore in terms of our tech savviness as a country? If I say 5 is very top in the world, this is 1, meaning can we do that? And at the count of 3, show me your hands. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh man, wait. 3, sir? What's this? 5. 2. What's that, sir? 3 or 5? 3. Sir? You chose 2. Okay. Well, the reason why I asked this question is because the last 2 years I was with Asian Development Bank, and part of the work that we do really is to level up in third world countries in terms of technology to help them to be more adaptive, to be more future oriented. Now, I'm saying this because technology is a monster. The reality is, you learn a tech, maybe next week something else will take over. So what is the timelessness of technology today? Do we just embrace technology because it's fitting? Right? This is a very difficult question to ask. And as part of the task force, we wanted to design certain ways to make sure that we give a fair evaluation as well as the support structures to help different countries level up. I'm saying this because I went down to some of the countries and they have this future lab and all that. The reality is a lot of what they take from the banks, Asian Development Bank, are outdated. 3 years ago, the software, the hardware that we purchased with the ADB's funding are outdated. And that to me is a worrying thing. It's worrying because are we pushing them to just chase, to catch up? Or are we helping them to design and embrace technology in a scalable way? So, I'm the only one using laptop because I'm more careful. And also because I'm using my data from ADB, so I gotta be accurate. In short, when I ask you the question 1 to 5, of course I don't want you to just be slanted and say, wow, Singapore, everything top including technology. But the reality is we are small enough, nimble enough, and forward-looking enough to look into technology, but not into every aspect. Singapore is very strategic in the way that we develop our tech industries. And that is one thing good. However, something that as part of the International Task Force, I'm privy of not overemphasizing Singapore in my opinion. But I just want to say that the way that we look at technology today and the way that we assess how the different countries are on par, we look at infrastructure, we look at governments, we look at schools particularly, and we also look at providers. Because providers are a very important part of the ecosystem. I'm telling you this because back in 2018, I had a work in Beijing with Alibaba. At the time I can't say it, and now it's 2023. And while Singapore and the rest of the world is all looking at 5G, we were just tipping into 5G. Alibaba was way ahead of 5G. While US is screaming down, and Singapore is like, let's move our telcos to 5G. Alibaba in 2019 was really developing technology into the future. And that worries me because while the rest of the world, today we talk about international scene, how does it impact the international scene? The reality is technology is an unfair leveler. If you pump in the right resources, right development, right people, it can help you to jumpstart way ahead. At the same time, how do you know, as Daryl said, what is the right solution? What is the right solution? I want to close with this. As an educator for, I may look 24 years old, but I'm quite old. As an educator for more than 20 years, teachers are always resistant to technology. That's why the way that MOE develops technology in a scalable way is from ground up. And that to me is a very useful way, because when you look at technology in education for teachers, you look at the people who are using it, what the solace, what the preferences are, and then you give them the right support. I'm saying this also because as technology changes how we learn, years ago when we take open book exams in university, today ChatGPT bao ga liao. But yet, most of the universities requires you to be very careful, to cite properly, and to even regulate how much of ChatGPT is allowed in your assignments. The question now is, are you embracing it? Are you careful? Are you always following behind? Or are you just waiting for others to take the lead? This is a question for you to think about. We can talk more.
Okay, that's a lot of provocations and good thoughts there. Maybe let me just take one part which was mentioned about leveling up. The problem I have with the word leveling up is you expect the level never to change when the level is always changing. So you're leveling up to what? Right? So you remember the oft-quoted aspiration for Singapore to reach Swiss living standards. The Swiss will move on, so it is always going to be a moving target. So leveling up has that problem. But what I would like to take a point from there, and the kind of stuff that I have been working on over the last 30 years or plus in different forms and shapes and manners. The idea here from my perspective is you need to empower people to be able to first understand what it is that they are trying to do, trying to learn, trying to figure out, and how does that apply to whatever they want to do. You don't just, so the problem with the earlier, well, it's still an ongoing issue. When you have relief supplies being sent to places or countries where they have a natural disaster or whatever it is. So I will hark back to the time I was in Banda Aceh. So we brought in a lot of stuff from SCDF and SAF to Banda Aceh to do what we needed to do. And the question was, what are those things that we can now leave behind for the people because no point bringing it back? What can we leave behind? So there are things that we can leave behind. There are a lot of things we cannot leave behind. Stuff that requires skills in different areas where the individuals on the ground don't have that. Then what is the point of leaving it behind? So it has to be the right technology at the right time for the right people when they need it. So let me pose a question to all of you. In your minds, when you think of the word technology, what comes to your mind? What is it that you think technology is? The reason I'm asking this, I want you to think back to the first time, and I shared this with everybody here, the first time in your life that you had this aha moment for some technological stuff, whatever the stuff might be. I will share with you what mine was, okay, and I shared with the group here as well. Mine was in primary 2, in Newtown Primary School. My form teacher, are you from Newtown as well? Oh, you're from Newtown Secondary, it's close enough. They were the other end of the field at that time. So Newtown Primary School, my form teacher is primary 2, her name is Miss Ng. She had, so there are all of us standing around, you know, you're only that tall, you're 7 years old, and she's much bigger than me, okay, and she had a battery, a bulb, and a wire in her hands. And for somehow, magically, she managed to put all the three things together and the light turned on. Well, for me, that was also a light turning on moment because wow, Miss Ng, how do you do that? Teacher, how do you do that? She said, you go figure it out. And then we tried, and work, didn't work, okay, whatever. All right, I went home. Now, have I seen a flashlight, a bulb, and a battery? Yes, my dad has that. But I did not have that aha moment when I can manipulate the technology for myself. So when I take out the battery from my dad's flashlight and open up the stuff, he was not home yet, so I took out the bulb, tried to work together, it didn't work. I don't know what I was doing wrong because I didn't understand what's going on. I'm just trying, I'm just experimenting. And then I saw, hey, maybe, I know teacher had some kind of a wire. I looked around, there's no wire at home. Oh, but I saw a paper clip. So I tried to use a paper clip and I opened it up. My mom was upset. Never mind, I tried. And I shorted the battery, so the thing was getting too hot. But as I was holding it, somehow the top went up and then lit the bulb. Bang, it works. Wow, for me that was a fantastic moment. I said, this is very interesting. I needed to understand for myself because it's only when you discover stuff like that on your own. You see someone doing it and you do it yourself. Now this is what I need as many people to also have in their lives. So when you want to level stuff up, these are the kind of leveling stuff that needs to happen. Opportunities to discover. So when I look at technology, from my perspective, technology could be anything. It's not about software, it's not about hardware and all that. Although that's the area that I live in every day, but it's not about that. It is answering the question, do I solve this to solve a particular problem? It doesn't always have to use any form of technology. A lot of problems can be solved by just rearranging things a little bit, and it's done. That's it. You don't have to have technology. Fancy technology is really not necessary. But do we think that way at all? We need to constantly get people to think not all solutions require a technological answer. Or rather, not all problems require a technological answer or solution. Not all of them. But we tend to drive into it. So to answer that to the hands that went out, we are Singapore is 5. We don't always have to solve problems with that. So for me, one problem that we face that we haven't actually solved, which we can solve very quickly, is not a technological problem. We all have faced the jams in the causeway. Right? We all have faced, we curse and swear at the jams in both the entry and exit points. Why is that the case? That's a very simple, it's got nothing to do with pass and all that, nothing to do with that. Just a matter of getting the two immigration officers sitting next to each other. One queue, you clear Singapore, you clear Malaysia, and off you go. You only have one queue to worry about. Of course, you make it a little bit faster, it'd be great, but instead of queuing in one Singapore side, and you go to the Malaysian queue again, why don't you have both of them there and bang, bang, off you go. Job done. It's a simple people problem to be solved. Process. Right? So that's where I will stop and we'll have conversations.
Alright, thank you very much, speakers. I think it's very interesting. We really have a very good mix of perspectives here. And there are a lot of interesting questions, right? What's the problem to be solved? What exactly do we really want to do? How does it affect us, right, as an employee in terms of the technological advantage that we have in Singapore versus the region that we, our third world countries in our region, right? And again, what exactly, how does it really impact us as a society? And again, how as a society, how does this influence our status in the rest of the world? So, if there are any questions directed at any one of our speakers, please feel free to ask. The mic will be passed to you. I would like to invite you to introduce yourself, your name. If you can share a bit about what you do, that will be helpful. So we will know how to pitch in the reply, and then your question. Okay. So the mic now is open to the floor. I would like to invite you to ask the first question. Anyone? Great. So.
Just now, one of you mentioned when you're in the university, you answer questions, it's open book. answer is there. Now ChatGPT control you. You can get the ChatGPT all the answer is there. So they control you. But I think our education system from primary to secondary is a damn condensed system. You know why? You read the books, and then in the exam, hey, this question never go down, man. Where, which part of the books are going to remember anything in the books? You know? It's only last year I learned something in training. So I attend training, you know. I attended many training, skill training. But don't quote me, don't quote me. So you attend the training, you must answer all the questions, you know, then you can pass, and then you get all the funding and everything, you know. Wow, shucks. What are the answers? I'm seeking the answers. Where's the answer? Talk. Yeah. Talk already, this way, go up. Correct or not? This way, go up. Then when the question come out, what is the thing, huh? Don't worry. On the examination day, this is a question and this is the answer. Just copy to your notes. You pass already, what? You have to keep doing it. So my question to this, in the primary school and education school, you give the answers to the question to the student. You give them, let's say this topic. Of course, you discuss this topic, you know. So these boys, some are hearing, some are not hearing. But when the question comes, the teacher gives you the answers. So the teacher will ask the same question which you have just copied earlier. You copy it out and give it to me. So this saves his time, and also this will instigate to read further. Hey, this topic, this is important, you know. And I remember during my time, similar. The teacher read the chapter, underline from here to here, underline from here to here, underline from here to here. Because these are the answers to the questions. Only that teacher only, you know. Then I said, wow, this is good, man. And it's only last year I heard, you go underline, I give you the answer. Then you read the answers, I give you the answer. So why don't we hasten the learning process? So he will learn better. So he will not have something left behind. Wow, give me the worry then. I mean, the university has open book already. So what are these people? Primary school, where is the chapter? Where? Yeah, then done, man. Actually, the Ministry of Education.
Maybe I'll frame the question for you. The question is to the panel: how can the digital technology help our students learn better? Alright?
Better. Online. What's the answer there? Put up. Stop there.
Can I just interrupt here? You know that my question will also only cover a little bit of this question. I wanted to redirect that focus on this discussion a little bit different, because I noticed that the whole panel here are all commercial. My name is Tay Kheng, okay? I'm a consumer of technology. That means I'm also a citizen. So consumer of technology and citizen are the important thing that I have to say. Why is it that I wanted to redirect? I said one of the things that we should look at the question is the focus between appropriateness and commercial. Right now, most of this technology we are talking about is very commercial. But commercial, of course, we all know what it brought to our life. It brought a lot of things. But at the same time, commercial also means that it helped a lot of the business to get our money faster. Last time when I have a phone at home, I only pay $15 for 3 months. I use it to communicate with people. Okay, today I can do a lot more with this phone, but pay together in a household, I will pay more than $150. So does technology need to be that costly? or need to be benefiting only the commercial side of it? Well, that's one question I pose. Because a few years ago, I went to Sri Lanka. I have 3 scenes that I want to pull up to you about this thing called appropriate technology. The first place I went to was Lion Rock. Lion Rock has a very nice, interesting entrance. And at the entrance, they use all these stairs. But the stairs are made of marbles. Interesting marble that the moment, at night, when the moon shines, the marble can actually emit lights. And the whole place is not dark at all, which means that actually, that's what I call appropriate technology. It doesn't cost anything. It just gives light where it's needed and so on. And just the moonlight alone helps to light up that place. The second scene I saw was at the marketplace where the old man just jig out if you are interested, I can show you the picture. I was so curious about it because this old man just jig out a bicycle and then don't know what he do with a few pulleys and so on. He can then use that machine that he has jigged out to sharpen anything, including your scissors, in 5 minutes. Is that what I call it? This is the kind of appropriate technology I say. The third scene was further down a few steps away from this man was another cobbler. Right? I have a broken sandal, so I said that, look, can he save it? All he do was he look at the sandal, then he pull up a kind of needle, but shaped in such a very interesting way, and then a row of iron thread, and he did it within a few minutes. My sandal had become stronger than original. And no glue, no nothing, and so on. I mean, in Singapore, we have to get a problem, we will do the glue or something. So that is my sense of it. So this is one question that I will pose to you.
Right, thank you, Tay Kheng. Now, I think both gentlemen has asked very similar questions, but in 2 different applications. I think generally, if you don't mind, I paraphrase and rephrase the question. I think we want to know how can we apply technology appropriately, all right, in education. And how can we apply technology appropriately in SMEs, especially for the mom and pop shops, the traditional industries? Because I think we can tell that in the past we have used technology in this way. Now they're coming up, but yet how do we use it? How do we apply the modern technologies to improve these 2 sectors? Anyone? Let's start with education first or business?
Right, so I haven't got your name yet. You are SCDF. Okay, Mr. Sid. So I'm speaking not on behalf of MOE, but speaking as an educator. Now, education today has changed quite dramatically. But that causes parents to also be very stressed. Why do I say that? Because with vegetation and memorization, really is more old school. Today exams, even common test papers, now test on higher order thinking questions. Test on your reasoning skills, your critical thinking, and ability to plug gaps. Okay. These are skills that parents can't teach, or rather they haven't been taught. Not at least when they're experienced. It is true, the assessment books, 10-year series, does do the drill and memorizations. Okay? But I would say that the part about memorizing is really something we need to tackle with, because ChatGPT now can produce something even better than you can produce in 10 hours. Because it searched the whole net, pull out essence, summarize for you, and to give you the vital, essential details that you need. So why do we still need to memorize? The the reality is we are strategic because we already start to talk about 21st century skills. And these are skills that's woven into education. To your question, sir, commercial or private? Appropriateness. Right. Now, this might be useful for you. When we were designing the different assessment frameworks, we also pondered upon that. The reality is technology is expensive. It's expensive to create, it's expensive to skill and market. So the way that we look at appropriateness as one of the criteria is this. When we evaluated all the countries, we look at quality of technology. Be it SMEs, commercial, even sales technology. Right? Quality has 3 subdomains: functionality, usability, and user experience. Okay? Effectiveness is the second way that we evaluate technology in different countries. Right? Evidence, community usage, as well as impact. So you can see that it blankets both that dimension, so that we no longer look at them in silos, but we look at these criteria as a way to evaluate them. We just finished the other two. Scalability is one. This is where Singapore.
Can I interrupt here?
Yes, sir.
Let's not talk about the rest of the world in answering these two questions. Let's focus exactly on Singapore. Are you saying that MOE is out of date? Number one question. Number two, are you saying that our technology here available to our small businesses is also obsolete? So what is it?
Wow, that is provocative. On the contrary, MOE is fast. When I was designing 21st century skills, that was 2006. And we implemented in 2011. Our curriculum runs 6 years. And there's midterm review. Right? That's where we start to change the types of questions, the way that we test students. So it's no longer just ability, it's in fact way ahead because it challenges, and that's why we are ranked in teams close, because we are high in terms of the critical thinking and not just memorizing the performance.
Again, if we go back to his question, right? How does IT help the student? You see, because you are saying that MOE is changing its philosophy, right? We are not asking that question. We are asking whether how does MOE enable our students to learn better using tech?
Thank you. Again, I want to say I'm not speaking up for MOE. Technology is an enabler. And that's why our students can function and still learn. We have created our own technology in MOE that is run across for all schools. And this is something that we are proud that we're selling to the world. I'm saying this because technology enables personalized learning. It enables differentiated instruction. It enables you to read beforehand, to collate your thinking, to allow teachers to be able to evaluate students' response much faster, right, and more accurately.
So your answer to the gentleman's question is that our education system, right, is already using the technology effectively with our students.
I cannot speak for MOE, but I would say that
you're not speaking for MOE.
Okay.
I'm asking you,
yes,
as a learned person in this field who has educational background,
yes,
right? Whether it is correct to say that the education system is up to date as far as using of technology is concerned. Your opinion.
My opinion is we are up to date and we learn.
I'm going to moderate this, okay? Because I think at the end of the day, education must bring the students somewhere. How about getting the perspectives from the people, from those in the industry? Do you think education has prepared our youth right? For the 21st century. Now we're already almost halfway through.
Okay, let me quickly put something in here. One of the things that was not mentioned, my own background, I have been in something known as the open source world. Okay, the idea of open source is to empower, enable people, not necessarily commercial. It can be, there's a commercial angle to it, but I want to empower you so that you can do whatever you want to do. So open source, and I happen to wear a t-shirt of an organization that I was with. I just recently left for 20 years. This is an open source technology company. The code that we write, you can download and do whatever you want with it. You don't have to pay us a single cent for it. But when you pay us a cent when you want accountability. As a CIO, as a CEO of a company, you want to make sure your business is running. You want to use the software that is open source software, by all means, please use it. You don't want to pay, that's entirely up to you. But if something breaks, it's your problem, you look after it. But you want someone accountable, then work with us. There's a cost structure to it, but it is still free for you from the software perspective. Now, what does that mean from an educator's perspective, from the school's perspective? The schools, instead of paying billions of dollars to the likes of Microsoft and all those guys to do what? To then lock them into a certain set of tools that say, oh, this is how you do spreadsheets, this is how you do this. There are completely open and available code and software to allow you to learn all the stuff you need. I give you another example. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of this organization called the Khan Academy. Khan Academy. Go online and look for Khan Academy. Khan Academy has incorporated ChatGPT into their education. The model that Khan Academy does is as follows. You as a kid or you as an adult, I don't care who's learning anything here. There are a lot of courses there. As you go through your stuff that you are learning, ChatGPT is there like a co-pilot. And it's just like you asking a teacher, hey, teacher, I don't understand this, or asking your friend, I don't understand this. Or there's a question that comes up. ChatGPT that is incorporated into Khan Academy's tools don't give you the answer. It prompts to you to say, okay, look at these things, which is what a teacher or your friend or someone next to you is going to give you. And then it gives you hints as to look at this other place, look at that. So now you have a constant 24-hour coach in your system based on the likes of ChatGPT, which is a lot more powerful from a learning perspective. So you flip the classroom the other way around. Instead of going to the class to get information and then go figure out, you do the work ahead of time and then go back to the classroom with the teachers and everything to have an exchange with your classmates, with the teacher, to look at other things, the critical thinking part, because you've already done the homework then. So a lot of these tools are 100% open for anybody to download and do as you please at zero cost. So when you talk about leveling up, that's it. Leveling up in this case goes to cost of zero. That's where the leveling up comes up to. To me, that's a very powerful move that is happening in today's context.
So may I just ask one question in relation to the questions that were asked earlier? So those are good examples, best practice examples, like the use of open source. It really stimulates the creative mind, the critical minds. And the idea that Khan Academy is a very good example of how we can apply technology for learning. So the question goes back to Singapore. Do you think Singapore has such good organizations as yours? Do we have such good companies like Khan Academy? Are we on par with what's going on in the world?
Khan Academy is a non-profit. It's applicable to the whole world. You can certainly use it. Again, with MOE, the problem with MOE, from my perspective is, I know you came from there, but it's not your problem. But it's just a structural problem. The resistance for change is always there. And I see, as you correctly noted, teachers are resistant to change. My wife is a teacher, my brother-in-law is a teacher. I can see that in them, resistant to change. But when you show them something in a non-threatening manner, show them the benefit that they can get for themselves, and then let them cook in the head and say, you know what, I can use this for my kids. That's the win that we want. And hopefully this becomes a ground up thing that goes back into the MOE unless it gets cut off somewhere. They say, hey, we need to do these kinds of stuff. And you can see the benefit. I've seen some of that happening, but not enough. Yeah.
maybe to add on to the technology in the commercial front, there's a lot of fintech statistically came to address the appropriateness of high costs charged by financial institutions to the consumer. So a lot of fintechs came out to disrupt banking. Consumer concept many years ago, 1%, challenging status quo. Now robo-advisors 0.3, 0.5%. But it also addresses, also help address men on the street who don't have a relationship manager. Now they have through technology used properly. There's many instances like Stashaway, they have a price down, they help consumer address certain need at a fraction of the costs charged by banks. There are also useful use case for fintech in other countries. There's less fortunate. A lot of villages in Philippines, the banks may not find it profitable to set up a branch in an obscure part in a village. And the villagers, neither are the villagers willing to put a few $100 or can afford a few $100 to have that minimum balance. So they can't afford a bank account. That is the bank account near them. So fintech wallets that we have here is free it's just an app for Filipino or Indonesians in the village. They can download it, they all have headphones, it's free to receive money from anyone in any villages to and fro, it's all free. Of course, it also addresses a part of a thing about corruption, whereby a lot of funding came down to the sovereigns. It didn't reach the people in the village. But through blockchain, through wallets, fintech, they can reach them to the right people. The money reaches them, and it's literally free. But back to Singapore, why challenges the appropriateness of high costing for certain services, fintech actually addresses those. It also gives things to new business models, like there's a Robinhood brokerage, 0%. How do they make money? Free. So it also involves, technology is there, but a lot of innovation came along, crafting the business model, making people rethink how they should make money from. Should it be from consumer, charge hefty amount for brokerage, not zero, free. But some consumers don't grasp it, like, oh, free, something is wrong. So there are good technologies out there to make things, make businesses appropriate in terms of costing, checks, put things in checks for being too pricey. And of course, if technology is used in the right way, increases productivity, it should address the cost from coming lower. However, certain institutions will rather tip it for profit margin. So it may not be the case whereby, so I understand it may not be the case whereby how come technology is there, is used to make more margins for institutions. So there is a double-edged sword, but it does have some good there when used appropriately. So I hope this gives another side of the picture.
Okay, not only you all can ask, I also can ask. Remember the question I asked you earlier? In regards to technology, do you chase after technology? Do you think you're a user or you are an embracer? Or do you let others use first and then you see whether it's still there, then you go. I'm asking this question because with technology being more pervasive and ubiquitous, one of the things that leads to the highest stress level in Singapore, do you know what it is? Loss of your mobile phone. People lose mobile phone and they can go IMD because the whole life. I'm not advertising for Apple, but technology itself also is. The reality today is, why are we still struggling to deal with scammers? They are ahead of us in terms of technology. We are following, we are catching up, right, in terms of how we deal with scammers. But you realize that of late, the scamming case is more innovative. No longer do we tell you and say, I'm from ICA. Today, they have all kinds of tactics to scam you. Whether you are learned, whether you are educated, Whether you're young, whether you're old, you will not listen. So technology has costs. So my question to you is, what is your agency in terms of how you view technology? Agency meaning, what's your ownership? I dare say this from my own experience as a school principal. In my first school as a principal in SIM International Academy, during tests, I made all my students surrender their mobile phones. That was in term 1. Nobody out of 50 marks got more than 10 marks. Almost everybody failed. No, not almost. Everybody failed. Because they were so reliant on Google Translate. They haven't learned to do without. And that's one flip side of technology. When technology controls the way we think, controls the way we learn, controls the way we live. That's why kids are addicted. But my second, and this is my last point, when I was a school principal in Korea, I was there for half a year before I came home for a holiday. But guess what? When I came back for holiday, no more flights, COVID. As a school principal, I cannot go back to my own school. Then how? I had to work with my teachers, I had to redesign the curriculum. So much so that because of human innovation, we make learning using technology more effective. So instead of me giving instructions, I get students to use the phone and show me the different parts of the school. And as they do that, they learn language, they learn math, they learn directions, and it was fun. Because that's it. I only tahan for 2 months, then I had to put out a job because it's very hard to run a school from abroad. But my point is this: technology is an enabler, and if you know how to use it and innovate with it, you can actually multiply benefits, which to me was my success because I got my students to learn unconventional way, and yet they learn how different disciplines are connected. And that really was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hi. My name is Aldrin. I'm an IT manager in a local logistics company. Thank you. So, I'd like to challenge John. So sorry for that. Yeah, you asked, who are we? Are we adopters? Are we followers? In the case of technology. For my case, I would say since young. Thank you very much for recording. I've been always interested in solving problems. Okay. And just now we were talking about education. I think education in my time was 10-year series, rote learning, not so much on the higher level thinking, which MOE claims that they are preparing students for. But as your own example shows, if you take away their mobile phone, they are helpless. So I'd like to challenge you in an earlier statement before that you say, yes, MOE has caught up with the rest of the world in technology. How do you substantiate what you just said earlier based on your example? Thank you so much.
Okay, let me clarify. That school where students were dependent on their phones to Google Translate, that was an international school.
So you're saying that international schools lose to our local schools?
Because the cohort of students are from China, Korea, right? Most of them, they don't speak English. So they really are dependent on that.
So it's a language.
I'm not here making a comparison. And I'm not here to say that MOE is ahead. But what I would say is this. We have within MOE the platform. Right? And teachers, like it or not, from top down, are forced to use it. But as they are using it, the more they use it, they become better at it. And if you know how to use it and innovate with it, you can actually multiply benefits. And that's really what's fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
what makes our technology better is this, the human-centered part. Human-centered because teachers, as they use the technology, they design lesson plans, they are encouraged to share with all the other teachers, right? So that to me is a very powerful part because hey, I don't need to reinvent the wheel now. My lesson is similar, right? From Bernard Soo, let me use it. And that to me is the human factor because at the end of the day, the agency of how humans use it needs to be factored in terms of human centricity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, Daryl, may I understand where he's coming from, because I was in the technical committee for SCORM, SURM, which is learning objects. I was with Snow Polytechnic at the time, and then we gave feedback on how we should do the meta tagging and how information should be crafted so they can share the same kind of information between all the IHLs. So yes, I would agree on that part. But I really don't want to get so micro and focus on just the tools of technology. As Harish pointed out earlier, we need to understand the roots of the problem. What are the underlying issues that all of us as human beings, not just Singapore, face in the world today? And I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable with ChatGPT, especially when they're used in education. So I'd just like to, yes or no simple answer from all the five of you, including Aldrin. Do you think ChatGPT is good for education? Thank you.
Answer is yes. Answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe. Yes.
It's complicated. But I'm leaning more towards yes.
Maybe I can now chip in. I mean, we're talking about the very foundation. So, I'm in the business of defining vicious cycles. Yeah, as part of design thinking, a part of our research and empathy research is about defining painful touch points, pain points and things like that. But pain points not simply incidental pain points, but particularly pain points that are vicious and repeats itself again and again and again. That's why every time when we come out with a new a disruption of sorts, it always sounds pivotal, disruptive, and blah blah blah. It's disruptive simply because it has been a vicious cycle that cannot be broken free from. So we go back to that very foundational question, what is technology for? My first encounter with technology, and I truly say, wow, this is technology, it's so fun. After that, I was on the computer the whole next 2 days until smoke came out from my compact monitor. Compact, I mean, my mom bought it for 3,500. I remember there's like, Daryl, I bought this new computer, you gotta careful, I take care of it. So every day came back from school, played my games, smoke came out one day and I told my mom and I don't know what happened. Smoke just came out. and that was my answer. But I think the question I'm asking everyone here, right? When technology came out, it was first there to help us do things that we could never do as human beings, right? You don't jump off, you can simulate it off. So you have your like killing programs, you have your all sorts of funny games that we can never do as human beings. That solved and that created that curiosity in our lives, right? The next thing that we did was to try to use technology to improve the way that we live, right? So we inserted things that never existed. I don't have examples right now, but the intention of technology moved towards improving the lives that we live, giving new value that don't exist. The third phase that we went into is to develop technology, which is nearly just not too long ago, to do things that we should be doing. Right? Now we are doing technology, or at least some time ago, we developed technology to do things that we should be doing. Like typing, writing a letter, now you type it out. Yeah, sure. But now you do voice to text and so on and so forth. Yeah, we should be writing, right? That letter to a friend is so much more meaningful than it would be from my SMS to you, right? I'm sorry versus I write down I'm sorry. That's so different. And now technology is used to replace the people around us. We have AI bots. We talk to people that don't exist. We ask questions to a screen, a person with no soul. And now, my question for you is, what is technology doing for you now? Is it working for you, or are you working for it? That's scary, and that question is the part that I'm very scared about. And so when I ask that question to myself, if technology is there to make me more valuable, am I more valuable today to the people around me? Or what? Or am I now just trying to prove my value, or what? That's a,
I'm going to come in to change the format a little bit. This is Friday conversation. Right? You all have been asking questions, right, to the panel. And the panel has been trying to ask questions back. Now we ask questions for everyone. Do you all think that Singapore is ready for the world? With our education system, with all of the good examples, availability of the internet. Yes.
I'm going to answer you with a question. Okay?
Yeah.
Since all of us here, in fact all the panel here involved in information technology, do you see a need for a Freedom of Information Act in Singapore? Because without information, you can't do a lot of technology. You can't do anything, right? And I also don't quite agree with the fact that MOE say that they are up there in the critical thinking in terms of educating our staff. Because if you don't have information, how do you have critical thinking? I mean, if information are controlled in such a way, then where the hell is the critical thinking going to come from? Right? Because you are guided to think more than anything else.
Can I share an experience? Sorry, I'm not a moderator. I'm also actually quite involved in tech. I visited Iran, right, 10 years ago. As you know, Iran has a very strict policy when it comes to information. Sorry? Okay, yeah. I don't want to be so loud. So, I visited some schools in Iran. You know that every classroom there is a government official sitting there, listening to what the teacher is saying. Yeah. Okay. And in Iran, every household they have access to VPN and they can watch American channels. Everyone knows how to bypass the firewall. Everyone. The government doesn't crack down. So, do you think with this kind of knowledge, the people are critical thinkers? That there is a problem, there is oppression, and then they figure out how to solve the problem on their own. Do you think the people there are critical thinkers?
Maybe I'll try.
I just want to finish up. So sometimes when we think that there's oppression and we make it free, and we are able to solve that problem with our own minds, people will think more critically. But the issue is this: the motivation is equally important. Because a lot of the Iranians that I met, the reason why they figured out how to bypass the firewall is because they just want to watch more TV because of the censorship. And so many people watch American TV. The average person in Iran, that when I visited them back then, thought that America is just nothing but fast cars, right? Beautiful women in bikinis, right? And men who are rich and fronting their money. They couldn't differentiate between what's reality and what's imagination. And I think that's also very scary today. If your whole mind is just flooded with information, how are we able to determine what's good, what's bad? We still need a strong education system to teach the skills of how to differentiate what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And in terms of memorization, we still need to learn how to memorize because the basic tier of knowledge is still memorization, rote learning. We all learn from that tier. And beyond that, we need more scaffolding for us to develop more and more skills, more and more lenses to the world, and eventually build that whole all-roundedness that we want. So the question back in is this: there are so many factors that is required to make an individual all-rounded. What are some of these critical factors do you think that we should implement in society? Right? Is the Information Act a critical factor that will change the game? Or are there other things that is easier to change for us to make that leap forward, right? As an advanced economy and as a mature society?
Yeah, I will take a crack at it because I understand where Tay Kheng is coming from, Freedom of Information Act. what is different now and say 30 years ago, there's something called fake news. Last time, whatever the teachers thought, is the gospel truth. But with the access of internet, the access of social media, they're being teenagers or youth nowadays are being bombarded all kinds of information from various sources, and some of those sources are dubious. You don't know whether it's accurate or it's totally false. Okay, so I think a critical skill will be critical thinking, that you're able to analyze, absorb, and come to your own conclusion about which source is more accurate than the other, rather than believing everything from one source, which I think the issue in North Korea or Iran, the media is controlled by the government. And I think it's true also in Singapore. I think it is open fact. Everybody knows the media is controlled by the government. Okay? And I think one interesting fact that you may not realize among the panel is that Harish was on a technical committee for TraceTogether. And I put you on the spot. In the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, TraceTogether was open source. Everybody can see the code. That's fine. But I think the later iterations maybe not be so open. So maybe Harish, you can cover that, and then we come back on control of information, because I don't believe that the government should be so proprietor of information within the country. Harish?
Okay. Before you answer, can I just add one scenario for you to think about? I'm not thinking so far about country political system. I'm just thinking that, let's say, a very simple situation is in Singapore, right? We have 5 hospitals, and every time we are told that all our A&E up to the limit, we cannot have, it's really bad and so on. But if you are rushing to the A&E, 1 minute is actually a life and death situation. Right? So what if the hospital are forced to publish the number of beds available they have now? And then the ambulance can then receive this information in real time and choose the best, fastest route to the fastest A&E to get treatment. Right? But of course nowadays in Singapore today, you ask the hospital to publish information, it's like, this is what I mean. So there is an argument. Certain information need to be restricted to be published so that people can use it.
What if my father knew how to deal with that situation? I could deal with it instantly instead of going to the hospital. That was what we did, right? Before you even went to the hospital, we asked ourselves, can solve or not? Can we deal with it? Hey, drink some apple juice, come on. I have blood pressure, drink apple juice. Oh, see doctor, take pills, so difficult. See doctor also must wait for months. Right? In our days, that was the thought we had, right? But I think today, because of technology, it's are we more able or not? Sounds like we are less able to deal with the situation, isn't it? So weird. So now we leave it to the doctors. So my question always is this: is technology unifying, or are we simply dividing? Because it really just divides everybody. And instead of us coming together, hey, Harish, let me help you with that. I know that my mom went through, and then take these pills. We will have like mismedication, sure. But that was the risk we were willing to take with our neighbor, wasn't it? I have got these pills, take it first. Then you go to the doctor and see what happens. But that was the risk, and that was community. So that's my...
So should I answer Alfred's question first? So just to give you a context, we all know the TraceTogether. So when TraceTogether, the app in the phone, right? The app in the phone, when it was announced that we're going to be doing this, I sent an email to Vivian. I said, because he was the minister in charge of Smart Nation and GovTech. So I told him in the mail, I said, Vivian, if you want this to be used by everybody, there has to be a trust factor. And from my perspective, if you don't open up the source code, I have no idea what's inside there, what it's going to do, and blah, blah, blah. And if you don't open this up, I will tell everybody I know, don't use it. I won't even use it. So that's, from a long-term perspective, that is not going to be a good thing. And to his credit, he replied almost immediately. He said, yes, we will open source it, but GovTech requires help. I said, yeah, I'm more than happy to help them to open up the whole thing. So that's what we did. That was what was done. All the issues around that 2-year period from 2020 to 2022 around TraceTogether. One other thing also happened, which is, the tokens that you all were given. Again, when that was announced, Vivian actually invited myself and 3 others. Hackers, right? We break stuff and figure out what's inside and tell people what's inside. And then let's put it back together and make it work. So anyway, for what it's worth, we were invited and we went to IMDA, and there were 4 of us, and we opened up the prototype that was being built. And the specification of this device is supposed to last, the battery that it comes with it is supposed to last for 9 months. And there's no way to charge it. There's no slot to plug it in or to charge it or whatever. And it's supposed to be used for 9 months, which means you cannot have any other communication in it other than the Bluetooth, which is what it's supposed to do, which is what the phone was doing, to find proximity. That's it. There is no GPS, there is no 4G network, or none of those things are in there. Because there's not enough battery capacity to last for 9 months to do any of those things. So yeah, we opened it up, we looked at it, and then we published it. The 4 of us. And IMDA also published the stuff, and so fine. So the idea, that was a form of a freedom of information in some sense, but it was not official freedom of information. But open sourcing is a form of freedom of information. So to me, that was a very important lesson for Singapore. I think there are people within IMDA recognizing this has to be the case for anything that we create. And if you try and be funny about it and do something sneaky, we will find out. There'll be enough of us who know how to get around stuff, we will figure it out. And then we will say, hey, this is not the way it should be. And we'll publish it. Okay? So to then talk a little bit about the Iranian problem and then the Great Firewall of China, the same issue. I got colleagues of mine from offices in Beijing and Shenzhen. We work out of we work around the Great Firewall of China so that we can communicate. That's easily done. Now, whether the Chinese government is going to crack down on them, they will figure out something else. Similar with Iran. I have colleagues of mine who are in Iran, and they have huge challenges sometimes of the day, but otherwise they can work around. It's fine, we can work around. But what I'm trying to suggest here is, when you have an open way of collaborating, for that matter, even North Korea, if you have an open way of collaborating, standards-based stuff, again, this goes back to the background again with standards, making IT standards so they're interoperable. I don't care where in the world you are. It changes how people collaborate. And it makes, and then to draw the last example about the ambulance getting a number, right? Why is it that we can have all the signboards along the way that shows the number of parking spaces in the different places? Not that we should have how many beds are available in a hospital published there itself. Why not? You can add that as well. It's not difficult to get. And I can tell you for a fact that they do actually provide that information to SCDF. Now, it is not public access for you and me, but it's through SCDF. So SCDF does receive, why do I know that? Because I spoke to the people there. So, do you get it? Yeah, we get all this information. We get information about how busy a particular A&E is, and then depending on the criticality of the individual that's been brought into A&E to then redirect elsewhere. But that also has other concerns, because if you go somewhere else, is there expertise in the other location to handle that issue? So there are multiple parts of this equation. So SCDF does receive the information, just so that you know. But none of us get to see it. We don't see it flash on the signboards on the way here, right? So just adding that.
Also to respond to the question, and with education as well. When we give the technology into the hands of our students, we prepare to be amazed with what they can saying this because, like, same line in terms of reporting, telling you accounting, students today learn coding. Right? In fact, all secondary school students are given mobile devices, handheld iPads for learning, for access. That kind of information that can be quickly gotten, I find it very impressive. Just like we look at the timing for buses, what time the buses come. Students create using coding, right? Signboards that updates. This part of the school is jammed. The bus is coming in which direction, right? And things like that. And these are actually happening today in a lot of schools. Technology for what purpose? Right? If it's to make our life easier, why not? Now, going back to your first question, do we like ChatGPT? The reality is this: I can give you the model answer in ChatGPT, but does it mean that you understand what ChatGPT's response is? It still goes back to the job of the teacher. The teacher's role is the curriculum gatekeeper. But if I use ChatGPT as a way of researching, then it helps students to scope, it helps students to be able to identify information faster. Right? Then the teacher's job is to facilitate the kind of inquiry to say, now which of these is a gap? Which of these is common? Also, these are higher order thinking. Seeing patterns, helping students to problematize. These are things that the textbook can teach us.
Yeah, I think that we've gotten less than half an hour left for our session. So I'd like to raise some broader issues. I think one common theme that has arisen so far is the issue of the interaction between people and technology. Okay, yeah, and it can be as people get to use more technology, they get more knowledge, which becomes a big increasing problem for the people who control the knowledge and who control the appetites that people have, who control the desires of people and so on. So this is a dynamic interactive process. The logic of it, which is the logic that all technologies generate. Okay, in the Industrial Revolution, produced the industrial state, produced the big city, produced the pecking order of finance and so on and so forth.
High capitalism.
Yeah, and whatever, right? And the reaction against capitalism, therefore communism and all of that. Okay. Now, the situation is that it's, I think, different for high tech, right? Because high tech means that given the complexity that is arising from the interaction, sometimes negative interaction between people and the powers that be, that the powers that be want to shape the people, right? And technology and the internet and the digital technology is the perfect instrument to shape the mind of people. Okay, just as a teacher, right? In the old model, a teacher's role is to shape the mind of the student, right? But today, the role of a teacher is to expand the student's mind by stimulating the student to question and to find ways of answering questions. Yeah. But then the teacher itself, the teacher himself or herself, is also being instrumentalized by the overarching technological power that be, because it is the interest of the technological powers that be to to tame the conflicts that arise. Now, when the National Security Agency in America realized that they had to fight the threat of terrorism, right? They passed a whole series of rules to make sure that all communication in the world, that includes us, right, that passes through the fiber optic cables, all of them are tapped. So in other words, the entire global flow of information is available to the technocracy that controls and is able to analyze the entire thing. In other words, the technological parameters, the tool has changed completely, right? In the past, tools are available, are distributed and available. But now, the centralization of information is not distributed. It is monopolized, okay? And therefore, the aim of the global oligarchy, the people who believe that they should run the world, right? World Economic Forum, etc., right? With all the best intentions that they have, that the disorder of the world must not be allowed to go overboard. And therefore, they must want to control all the possible disorders. And therefore, the high technology is in their hands. So now, that is the picture. So all the issues that we are talking about in Singapore, about education, about small business, about people-to-people relations, people-to authority relations, and so on, have to be discussed under the rubric of this overarching order. And this is a question which I want to put to the panel. What do you think about it?
We cannot run away from institutional or national agendas. I mean, we can all say in China, go and check on everybody, follow you, track you, but they actually use that technology also for other good uses as well. Every technology has its intention. But I want to say this, ethics of technology is something that nobody really wants to dive deep into. We had to make a stand to say, we open source, we share the code so that people trust us. Initially when it first came out, and you tracking us, where we're going and all that. But by being open, it establishes the trust. I'm saying this because my friend Hui is here, and she is a tech person in Cambodia. I go to Cambodia quite frequently, and I am don't kill me next time. But I am disgusted by how some countries accept freebies from other countries. And so a lot of the conferences and seminars, education-wise, have people coming in to give technology. But at the same time, because I give you the technology, I'm also collecting your data. I was surprised because I was the only person during the conference who actually prepared the keynote. Everybody else is just saying, nah, everybody go and use it, get your schools to use it. And that to me is the usage issue. Remember, once you embark on a particular technology, you are less inclined to use similar technologies because it takes time for you to adjust, to adapt, and to use it effectively. And that's why in ADB, one of our criteria is also privacy and safety. Because this is something that's very hard to navigate unless the policymakers took the stand.
No, my question to raise, you actually don't want to say, Harish, is there such a thing as privacy anymore?
So the question here is, for the mic, is there the question of privacy, is there any more privacy left?
Yes.
My answer is yes. It's a matter of how you actually control it for yourself. You have to have agency, you have to understand what you're doing. Let me ask you a very cheeky question, right? If you are telling me I am not concerned about privacy because I got nothing to hide, how many of you will say that? Well, okay, you would say that. Alright. Then, let me ask you a direct question, Alex. When you go to the toilet, do you close the door?
Well, by virtue of
Hang on. If you do close the door, that means you do value something. I know exactly what you're going to do there because I probably do the same thing, and half the human population does the same thing. The other half of the population does it slightly differently. But the point is, we have a door. What was the purpose of the door? Because privacy. And if you say I got nothing to hide, then why do you have a door in your toilet? Because there are some things that you feel that you need to. So likewise, if you take ownership and figure out for yourself what is it that you want to keep and what is it that you're willing to share. So for example, a lot of people use this tool called WhatsApp. I don't use it. Why? It's not because the technology itself is not good. They do encryption, it's all fine and good. But there is an aspect around it called the metadata. What is the metadata? So when you are sending something, whatever the something is, whether it's a picture, you're talking on the phone using WhatsApp's technology to somebody else, there is metadata around it. Oh, you are in Singapore, you are in Palm Bistro, and you are at this IP number because you are connected to the Wi-Fi here or you're connected to your cell phone. They know that information is not encrypted. That information is available. Then the recipient, whoever the recipient is, wherever in the world they may be, will also have the similar stuff. Where does this set of data go to? It goes to, in this case, WhatsApp's owner, which is known as Facebook or Meta, whatever they call them today. And therefore, they can target the advertisement to you based on where you are, based on the metadata. Not your conversation, not your data that you send, not the pictures you send, not the videos you send. So that's the metadata part of it. Now, when you talk about privacy, so that portion, what you talk about privacy is there. But you lost another part of privacy of the metadata. Because they are trying to commercialize it from that perspective. I don't use WhatsApp. I refuse to use it for that simple reason. I use something else called Signal. And why is that so? Because again, it goes back to the ethical use of the technology. That was set up by some of the initial people who created the encryption that is used in WhatsApp. But this is being run as a non-profit foundation. It's not for commercial use. It's not to sell commercial anything. So even though when I communicate with you, Alex, if we are using Signal, the same issue of your metadata around it, that I'm sitting here, you're sitting there, blah, 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 the GPS, and all these things will be there. But they're not selling to anybody else, they're not using for anything, there is no advertising there, it's a non-profit organization. Okay? So, is that all private? For me, it's good enough. So I hope that I help answer that question. You have to look at every situation and figure out what that is.
Yeah, I just want to respond to that. The toilet door example is a very good example, right? WhatsApp doesn't want to know what goes on inside the toilet, but it wants to know how many times you go to the toilet. Because once it knows how many times you go to the toilet, it knows how to sell the information to the toilet manufacturer.
The toilet paper guys.
Yeah, okay. So that is the game. But my question is more serious than that. Who is tapping WhatsApp? Because according to the information that's released by Edward Snowden, right? All the silicon company, tech companies, all are under National Security Agency surveillance. And all the information goes into their computers, right? So, even though WhatsApp may not want to know what you do in the toilet, NSA knows what you do in the toilet. Because they know how to crack the code. Okay?
I will challenge that is not true. The encryption is not a private encryption, it is a publicly tested, publicly published encryption.
So this is the new techno order that we are living in. So this is the point, you see.
I'm going to come in as well. So knowledge is power, information is power. Information used to be fully in the hands of government. But right now, we know that the information is actually international.
All governments are under surveillance by the national security state.
There are certain pipes that go to certain nodes. They are concentrated in some places. But right now, with advancement of more technology, just like Hegel, there's a thesis and antithesis. No matter how much data you collect, there will be someone with open source that will create something that makes it more private, that gives the individual more agency. That's why right now the power has also shifted to commercial enterprises that now has a say over how much, or who have influence over how much information you have. And right now there's also other forms of technologies that are available that gives the agency back to us. DeFi-wise, is it safe? Is blockchain safe? Is it really as safe as we think it to be? Yes.
Use Huawei. Huh? The new system. Nobody will know what you are talking. The Americans also cannot tell what you are doing. That's why the Israeli war, the Hamas thing. Are they using Huawei? Really?
Okay, maybe I touch upon
just a very quick response to that remark, which I think is very important. And this is something we talked about earlier, right? That the China model is completely different from the Euro-American model, the American model. Okay, what I've just described about the techno control is the American model, right? In other words, it seems to me, the logic is that the only refuge left is China's model.
Okay. I don't know. But I do know technology will always advance. When there's a problem of privacy, then there's new technology like blockchain, Web3, another space. There are a lot of governments do not like. So they were like almost anti, but there are governments who support certain parts of blockchain, but there are certain part of blockchain that governments do not like because it gives power back to the people. It cut out. It really it's non-fungible. It's permissionless. It's tougher. It's based on everyone. It's the whole world coming together without central authorities. So technology has evolved. It will keep evolving. I don't think Web3 is the last. Maybe a Web 4, Web 5. We've come from Web 1, Web 2 to centralized. Where Facebook, Web 1 is simply just one way. Just key whatever you have on the internet. Web 2 is like Facebook. They control your data. Whatever you post on Facebook is controlled. It's censored. Web 3 comes to address this problem. We return the power back to you. You are your own Facebook. You have your own domain, you have your own land, your own place, you have your own community without any central authority. So I'm in that space. I believe that technology can help address this part. That's why I'm advocating this. And of course, there's governments are also trying to understand because they can't change this. Web3 coming along is the trend. Commercial is pushing it. Of course, the big players, there's a lot of commercial side of it. So it's there. They have to follow suit and try to govern it. But we won't know. Is anyone's guess? A lot of governments are struggling to govern it.
My check. Just give me 1 minute. Just 1 minute after hearing all this, and we are going to go back. And this is my conclusion. It's like if you go back to the cave dwellers, the invention of tools to kill your enemy, spoils of war, the cave dweller. Then eventually bows and arrows, spears, and then the engineering for warfare improved, and then you get firepower bombs. Fast forward, atomic bomb. Right? So listening to all you have to say, I think it's a brave new word to me.
In all this discussion, I kind of agree with him that the starting point for any trust, I mean, the problem is we have no trust, right? The starting point for any trust is transparency. You don't ask me to trust me if you are not transparent. So you can ask for trust if you are transparent. So whatever technology, whatever application that you do, those that can provide more transparency would win the trust. That's how I feel. And there is enough clever people and the panel out here to find, if let's say you find that something is lacking, they'll find some way to patch it up or to find a solution, because if they offer a solution to you, there must be some good things that you would like to enjoy, that kind of thing, right? So I think we should start with transparency. Then it will be easier.
Can I probably add a couple of 2 points here? First is about transparency. So the model by which you develop software, okay, the model that I think is the best way to do it is what is known as open source development model. The idea there is you can see the code, you can see exactly what's going on. I don't care who in the world is doing it, as long as it's done, I can check, I can incorporate if it makes sense to me. But when you extend that into the next era, which is things like artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, blah, blah, there are a lot of things in there which we have absolutely no idea what's going on. We have so the term that you may have heard of, something called explainable AI. Even it is because of the math behind it, the mathematics behind it, there's a lot of stuff that it's kind of hard to understand why a particular decision, a particular outcome of given a certain input, a certain output that came from this AI, whatever that is you're using. So as an example of the ChatGPT, just to highlight a quick example, that you have heard of the term hallucination. That means it gives you random information, it sells you a paper that was published by this professor with links to all the references and all that. Turns out the entire paper is not right, the links are all just made up, they're hallucination. Now, why does that happen? We don't know. We have no idea what's happening. So we need to find ways to make sure that we can determine some mechanism in a narrow sense. I want to use the same tool, but I want to use it for medical purposes. So what I would call it, I mean the term I prefer to use is artificial narrow intelligence. It's narrow to a field, the particular field, because the field is fairly well advanced. I know the field, so I'm using it for looking at X-rays. So I want the X-ray analysis, the images to tell me whether there's a tumor, no tumor, whatever it might be. But it's very narrow, and you can use the idea behind ChatGPT. It's called large language models. It's not ChatGPT, but large language models. It helps you to assess and figure out where is the problem, because it's a very narrow field. When it is narrow, you can kind of, sort of, explain how he came to a conclusion. But when you make it general purpose for everything on in the planet, it is still not doable today. So, first part. Second part is, if the code is not open, I have no idea what it's doing at all. It's even worse. So it's just a box there that is magically receiving some input and magically giving some output. After all, this is made by man. You know, it's human-made technology. Why is it that we can't explain it? We should be able to explain some of these things. Now, AI is a space that is actually very challenging. So that is an area which I am involved in right now, and trying to figure out how to make this better for all of us from an open source angle. I don't touch any proprietary software. I don't have no interest in any of those things because I don't trust them. I start from the distrust perspective. I go as a bad guy first. At some point, hopefully, they will see the light. And then let's work on it. But I want to start from an open so we can all see and let's improve it. Let's improve the stuff collectively for everybody. So that's my take on that.
Okay,
thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we have reached a time. So I think we have a lot of discussion that went on, and it was quite engaging. And it doesn't end here. So what we really hope is that please stay on to ask more questions. I think more intimate discussions will be better. And more importantly, look out for our next Friday conversations because we're going to continue along this line, and Prof. Tay will share more about the evolution of Friday conversations.
Yeah, one of the things that we are going to innovate on, and unfortunately we didn't have time to talk to you and Alfred, is that we are going to shift from a physical meeting like this to a series of Zoom meetings, okay, which has got several advantages. Number one, we don't need to be physically present. That means we can reach across international boundaries. We can involve much wider participation, right? Secondly, that the model that we have in mind is that there will be a panel of people to discuss a topic, right? And then those who join as spectators will then be able to ask questions at a later stage in the discussion, while having absorbed some of the issues. But at the end of a session, we will have a lunch here together, right? So that we can meet each other face to face, right? Enjoy each other's company and ask the kind of questions which we didn't think about at the time of the Zoom meeting, right? So that it will become a much more sociable situation, right? So that we don't have to be totally constrained by the physical arrangements, right? Thank you.